you led people to believe that you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment. But as I'm sure you know, the Epstein files show a very different record of interaction. Why do the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York, right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times.
U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is under fire after his name emerged in the Epstein files released by the Department of Justice last month. Lutnick confirmed that he met Jeffrey Epstein on his infamous private island in 2012 during a Senate hearing, contradicting earlier statements that he had cut ties with Epstein years before. He had said in a podcast interview last year that he cut ties with Epstein in 2005. Testifying before the U.S. Congress, Lutnick confirmed for the first time that he had lunch with Epstein on the island 4 years after Epstein's conviction for soliciting prostitution from a minor. Epstein files show that Lutnick traveled to Epstein's island, Little St. James, on December 23, 2012. Emails indicate that his wife contacted Epstein's assistant that morning to arrange anchoring their boat near the island. Lutnick accepted the visit, but said he could not recall the reason for it. He sought to distance himself from Epstein, alleging he barely had anything to do with the financier and convicted sex offender.
You led people to believe that you had cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein after the 2005 encounter you and your wife had in his apartment. But as I'm sure you know, the Epstein files show a very different record of interaction. Why do the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York, right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall. 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him, and then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents, there may be 10 emails connecting me with him, probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person, okay?
Sir, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said, there's not an indication that you yourself engaged in any wrongdoing with Jeffrey Epstein. It's the fact that you believe that you misled the country and the Congress based on your earlier statements, suggesting that you'd cut off all contact when, in fact, you had not.
The Commerce Secretary is the latest member of the political and financial elite to face pressure over relations with the disgraced financier. Democrats have demanded the resignation of Lutnick over his ties with Epstein. Democrat Senator Jackie Rosen told Axios on February 10th that she was calling on Lutnick to resign, the first member of the Senate Commerce Committee to do so. She joined a bipartisan group of lawmakers in the House that urged Lutnick to resign this week. In a post on X, Representative Robert Garcia said it is clear now that Lutnick had been lying about his relationship with Epstein, hence he must quit or be fired. Democratic Senator Ted Lieu accused Lutnick of lying to American people. Senator Adam Schiff, too, said that Lutnick has no business being our Commerce Secretary. Representative Melanie Stansberry of the Democrats, who sits on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, has urged Lutnick to testify before Congress in regard to his relationship with Epstein. Democratic Representative Sidney Kamlager-Dove also signaled concern over mistruths from Lutnick. But it isn't only Democrats who are calling for Lutnick's removal. Republican Rep. Thomas Massie of Kentucky, who co-sponsored the Epstein Files Transparency Act, has also pushed for Lutnick to resign in an interview to CNN. Meanwhile, the White House stands firm behind Lutnick, saying that President Donald Trump fully supports him.
Does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now, or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. I will just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about, because you continue to ask questions about the same subject, so let me point them out for you. Again, on Friday, the Dow shattered 50,000 for the first time ever.